Alright, I am getting ready to prep this, this signboard, and I'm going to use my multi-purpose sealer. And because my signboard might go out by my front door, I want to make sure that I seal all the sides of it. Okay, so I'm going to use a roller, and the reason I'm using a roller is because these, it has all this detail that is very difficult to get into without drips and things with a brush when you're trying to really make sure that you're all sealed in and stuff. So we are going to, this way, with the roller. It makes it super simple to get all the way around these little curvies. I was struggling with this. I had picked up a brush to begin with, and I was like, no, we need to get out our roller with this. This 2-inch size makes it fantastic. You're not going to waste a bunch of medium and stuff. It makes it so that you can roll over and over to get it into the grain of that wood, or into the density of that wood. If that makes any sense to you? Once you're rolling or trying to brush, you'll see exactly what I mean. Anyway, you get that on, and then smooth it back over once you have done it. Just real light pressure, smooth it back over for a nice even tooth. Okay, and do that to your whole piece and let it rest. It comes with 2 of these panels, and so you will do both sides of the panels and make sure to do the edges as well, just always to make sure that you have a good line of protection. Alright, now that I've got this dried and sealed, we're going to use our sanding disc to knock back the texture. And then we'll go to the finer sanding disc to make it just a bit smoother. We'll do that on both pieces on your wood surface as well. I like these spongy filled sanding discs because they're real easy to hang on to, and they last and last and last, which we really like. Okay, we are going to base with soft blue. Okay, and break this puppy off of here. A lot of times these break off. Every now and again you gotta help them. Okay, I'm just going to pour this right on the surface and find my roller, and I'll be right back. Okay, we'll give everybody a nice lovely coat of our background. I like the roller because it's a nice even texture. They don't have brush marks. A lot of people, when they're brushing, they don't get all those brush marks out, and then that makes it for a very ugly effect. One random big wad of paint someplace in the middle, and that can be so easily alleviated if you just use the right tool. Okay, and I'm using gentle pressure. A lot of times it helps to stand up, but in this case I think sitting down's probably okay. I'm not trying to do anything fancy here, just get some paint on. Okay, we'll let this dry. We'll see how many times I change my mind. You always get the full, this is me as I'm designing everything, so you guys get the full. We'll cut out all the part where I did the work to get there, but every now and again you'll see me changing things. It depends on how good I like my plan to begin with. One of the things that you can do while you're waiting for your paint to dry and you need your roller still in the same color, I have more room here, is you can just pull off a piece of saran wrap, wrap the roller head in the saran wrap to keep all the air out. The paint won't dry. If it doesn't, you have exposure to air. So now I've got that roller for a little bit later. As I'm rebasing for my second coat, this is where we're going to do a slip-slap effect in the middle of our design area to make kind of a center of interest. So I want to just create some variations in color. There's a couple of ways you can do this. I like the slip-slap because while you've already got it on there, it blends really nicely, real complete blend. Now I'm standing up. I'm going to blend this on my palette. This is when a really small roller is really nice because this, in comparison to this size, is not so big. And then I'm just going to roll or slip-slap here in this area. Need a little bit more white. So I'll squeeze out a little bit more. Don't want to get it too heavy. Blend it into our brush or our roller. Got to do it while it's wet or it won't blend. We don't want it to be over blended. Now I dried a little bit quicker than I thought I was going to, and that is not the desired effect. So I've got to re-wet with a little bit of my blue for that middle color. And you want to be careful. These rollers will spit on you. Like when you roll it back at you, it'll spit on your clothes and stuff, which mine just did. I'll take a little bit of brush cleaner and test it on there and see if I can't get rid of that. Okay, now we'll go back into white. This is always just like a dancing process. Go a little bit this way, a little bit that way. No two are ever going to be the same. Your look will have your look to it. Okay, I think I'm liking that. Let's stick with that. All right, here is a new product that I have found. It's called a Mist It tool, and what it does is it mists things. Okay, and you might think, well, so what, big deal. But look at how fine it mists things. Okay, go down into here. Okay, and I can't do it on paper because paper sucks up water, but let me show you what else I found. Missed a couple of these, and maybe I don't want any big ones. We have found these little things called, we're calling them Q-tips, and if we get this here, we've got this great big giant. Look at that, just suck that puppy up. Anything I don't want, missy-wise, I can just pluck them back off again. I got one in the middle of, you know, the face of something when I spattered or whatever. So you could use this as a spattering tool, but what I'm wanting to do is I am wanting to show you that you can use it for many reasons. I'm thinking, though, what I want to use these for as well is I can mix any color of paint in this as I like, and then I can use this to antique the edges of my piece, going around, and that is just going to give a real dreamy, soft look here. Okay. Real misty. And maybe another shot over here. Like I said, I can use my little Q-tips and I can take off any ones that I don't like how big they are, or that crept into the middle. What I like about these having the point on them is I can get very pointed about which ones I'm taking off right in the middle of a bunch of them. And it is just so easy. So I can get right in there in the middle, you know. And because it's just a spattered effect, I think it's just soft and dreamy and just awesome. The more water you have in them, the finer that they will spray. So shake that up. If you need to, when you clean these, you just want to put them under warm water. No soap is required. Okay. If I make this, whoop, hello. Watch where you're pointing. These things go off and forget it, right? The further away you are, the softer it'll be. Let's get another piece of paper. Okay. The closer you are, the stronger it is. We don't want that. So they're softer. If you hesitate, you get those dots. So squirt on here first. See, if I just barely push down, I'm getting these little releases. If I want it finer, nice firm pressure, quickly. Okay, and I'm going to get nice and fine. Now what we also can do with these is we can use them with stencils. Okay, get my stencil sticking over there. I've got my adhesive on the back, and I find the hole. You gotta make sure these are pointing towards where you want to go. Okay, I just squirt gently through my stencil. We'll reinvent stenciling this way. And presto, changeo, you have stenciled. And so this is just like, it didn't take hours and hours of tapping and tapping and tapping and tapping. So lovin', lovin', lovin' it. I gotta wipe my stencil off if I can find where I put my napkin. Okay, and then I'm going to share what I did. I've been playing around with these. I feel like a little mad scientist some days. What I did was I took one of these paint travel cups and I put paint in it, and I put water in it, and got it to the thickness that I wanted. Okay. And then I opened up my mister, and I set this out. I set one out last week with paint in it, with the lid off, and it took it about a week and a half, I guess. Just, come on, you can pour out of there. There we go. And so by mixing it in here and not in this tall skinny bottle doesn't want to mix as easily as it should. So by mixing it inside this little cup, it was much easier. Always, always test spray. Just look at how nice that is. That is just so fantastic. There we go. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, the thinner it is, the finer it'll be. So maybe I'm pushing it right here because it's getting heavier. Maybe I'm pushing it just a little bit, and I could water that down just a little bit more, or rinse off the nozzle as it gets done. This is food grade plastic. You can put your hand sanitizer in it. You can put mouthwash in it to squirt your mouth. You can put whatever you want inside of this, and it rinses out. No soap and water, just rinses out like a dream. The nozzles, like I said, with the acrylic paint, is a plastic, so if it gets hard, just soak it in hot water, not soapy, and it cleans right out. It's a fantastic product. Okay, so I want to use some of my glimmer screens. Can you see both of them? Let's see. This one's just kind of invisible, isn't it? Okay, and I want to use the misting tool. I want to give just ever so light an outline. Got quite a bit more water. Okay. Now what I could do is I could rinse this one out, and I could mix in some white, which I think would be kind of a fun thing to do. Let's just do that with this color here. Mix in some white. Get my stick out. You can just reuse these sticks. You don't need to carry a new one for each color. Some water. What I found handy is just to preload these misting tools with water, and then you have water on site available right there at your desk. Okay, then we'll mix our paint up. See how those particulates are just down there? Much nicer to mix them up here and pour them in than to go the other way. Okay, get that all done. Okay, now I've got my white in there, and like I say, always test. I can bring some of that white in the middle. At the fastest you've ever spatted in your life. Could even bring some out here. Remember, we've got our Q-tips for where we don't like them. Spot on. This thing is dry even, and it's still sucking up. So you can reuse these until they won't suck anymore. Okay, I think I'm liking that. Now we've got this beautiful dreamy background. I really think I could go a deeper color here on the side, and I think that'd be fantastic. I might do that. We'll see. This is just like the invention process. Like I said, mad scientist. Blah, ha, ha. With this product, they show using tweezers, and I think that they're absolutely right. Tweezers are probably needed. Okay, so that one doesn't show hardly at all. And that one is very, very, very faint. So what I would do is do them overlapping, and I will do them one more time, and maybe up here with like partially off. This is what I had hoped would happen, is that I would see these little hints of things that were not very powerful. Let's see what we got over here. Okay, so that's our blue. Whoops, and that's our blue pointed the wrong way. Okay, and now, so do I hate that up there in the middle? I don't think I do, because it just adds to the dreaminess of it, although I do not like a couple couple of these big lobbers. Let's pull those off. Okay, let's see. Go back into our white and give his wing over here just a couple of. Couple there. Now let's see if we get a little bit more. Aha. Aha. Oh, look at that. Isn't that pretty? You see that up there? It's just a little hint of something going on. What is it? I don't know. I want to look closer. It's movement. I love movement in the backgrounds. Wipe off your stencils while they're wet. Don't make too big a mess. Too big a mess. Okay, and then you could decide if you wanted one to be just extraordinarily strong. You could put it down and then do your darker or your stronger misting. And I think we'll leave this for right now and see if there's not, if I want to add some more of something a little bit later on. So here's the kind of dreamy effect that we have going for our background. Let's go wider. I've got stencils laying everywhere. Okay, so I'm liking how dreamy it is. I love that I can barely see this butterfly. I love this effect over here. We've got a little dragonfly action going on down here. Just a little bit of misty things. I can barely see this one, but there's just movement going on everywhere in the background. I don't know how well you can tell. So this is, I think that we can just absolutely reinvent kind of this whole background technique with these new tools that we have. All right, I am going to get the, let's see, where do we want to go from here? I think it might be time for pattern. Okay, as I get ready to decide, let's get you in or out there, what colors are going to go with my, like I know I've got tulips. Now think about tulips here. Our tulips could be in pinks or oranges or yellows or, just a million colors. But because our background has this color in it, we need to determine what color and what part on the color wheel this background is so that we can determine what colors to make our tulips and what greens to use for our greens. So what we need to first of all determine is what we know. We know that our background is this kind of blue color. Is it a blue-green? Is it a blue what? What kind of thing is it? So we have come up with, this is a 3-in-1 color tool. And the 3-in-1 color tool has it's based on a 24 color color wheel. So if you spread this thing around like this, then you would have, in a wheel, it would go from blue to cerulean blue to turquoise to aqua blue to blue-green, like that. Just like a regular color wheel. So what I did was I visually converted all the colors in DecoArt into the colors on here. So I took my Painted Chips book, okay, and I took out each one by one and took it to the card that it belonged with, and then I put it, like, say this was a yellow, it was yellow 1-1. Okay, and so we came up with this fantastic little book that is our 3-in-1 color tool to Americana super handy guide, right? So we have them sorted by color families, the DecoArt name, and then the DecoArt number. So whichever way you want to organize your stuff, if you're looking for a color family, then it's organized by that. But let's say that my background has this Salem blue in it. First, I need to find Salem blue. So I'm going to go to page 18, and I'm going to look for Salem blue. Okay, here it is. It is in the AB family on chip number 818. Okay, so we're on number 8, which is the aqua blue family. Okay, and you can see that we're in here somewhere. And so if we're aqua blue, then what this is we're 818. And where am I at? I'm on the other side here. Somebody should put her glasses on. Here we are. And so if that's the case, then we're aqua blue 818. And then what we need to do is then look on the back of the card, and it has all of our color wheel stuff back there. And it says that our perfect match for our color family is orange red. Now in my case, I went to my book because I wanted to see the visual. And I looked under my orange reds, which are going to be at about, maybe in about this family right here. Okay. And on this, okay, so I've got my orange red family, and when I put it up with my color, I wasn't real happy with that color, and I really wanted to be a little bit more over into my blue reds. So as I'm looking at my cards, what I'm seeing is that sometimes, like here's my aqua blue. This color right here is definitely an aqua blue. This color right here is one and the other, and it could really be this bridge color, whatever one is in between, okay? So because I'm not finding my perfect color wheel match on one, I'm going to pretend like it sneaks over to the other side. Okay, and so then if I was over here, they would say that turquoise and orange. Okay, so I'm still not real happy with that. But down here at the bottom and down here at the bottom, it has this red. It's got to be a red to me. In my mind, it's a red as a fuchsia, and this red as a magenta. And if we look at our magenta and fuchsia, okay, we see that they are a bluey kind of. I replaced my little strap thing with this little wheel, and it's handy, but it's kind of a pain. So I would need to be in this really, really purpley reddy place to be able to work with this color with this. And so when I look here, obviously, that is not anything near the same. Come over here. Okay, maybe I'm having a hard time telling. Maybe I don't know. Like red violet looks like it's absolutely in the right market there. Yeah. But then when you put red violet with white, I'm over here in my fuchsia. So I would say that red violet was one of those kind of bridging colors. But if I need to know what color family it's in, then I could go to our Make It by Color Families place on page 4. And I could look for something that's either a blue-red, a fuchsia, or magenta. Okay, there's a violet, there's magenta. So red violet's in our magenta family. And then we have all of these different pinks and things like that. So this is going to tell me the number and the name, and I've got my paint colors organized by alphabet over in my paint storage. So I can go and look at all of these, and I've kind of got them organized by color family. So I'm going to pretend like I'm in the magenta family, and I'm going to go in with these colors right here. And from there, I'll let you catch up with me when I decide on the right colors. Okay, I just wanted to share one of the things. I'm finally ready to start painting. Some of these times it just takes me forever to get going. I've got the flat peel-off tray palette here, and because I know that I'm going to finish painting this all in one fell swoop, I'm just going to use this. I don't have to throw away my palette sheets. I can leave it overnight to dry. The paint is just going to peel right off of there, or just wipe off with a damp cloth if it's too thin to peel. And presto change, I've got this great thing. It's actually meant to go like this, I believe, and it's got these lovely handles and everything. And put your paints out here, and then you've got your blending spots. But because of my workspace and the camera orientation, then I'm just going to set it into my normal work zone like a palette. And then I'll put my paints over here where they're sectioned off, or up here. And then I'll use this area to blend. And if I need more blending space, I can just take a damp paper towel and just wipe that off while it dries. So as you see me, that's what I'm going to be doing. We're going to take out our first color, which is pink chiffon. I'm going to open our bottle. And we're going to base coat, pretty much basing right on in there the tulips. Get them nice and based. This is pretty simple stuff, so go right up to your lines. I've got my Workhorse flat paint brushes, which do just a fantastic job of lasting and lasting. Get you in just a little bit closer. I think it might be time to get out the Artist Betty again, because I'm already holding this thing up so I can get a good angle. So this is what we do, right? Go back out. I'm holding this up, and then I've got my hand going like this, and I've got everything wibbling and wobbling. And sometimes I'm a knucklehead. I've got the tools sitting right there, and I don't take them out. So the Artist Buddy is a Lazy Susan. It has a lock on it, and I can just put this up just enough. I think you'll still be able to see. Yeah. And then I can lock it. Okay. Now it's held at exactly the right angle. so that I can see everything in there. Okay, and the reason they're called an artist buddy is because they are like an extra pair of hands for an artist. They can hold big, heavy projects. We did 36 by 36 inch fireplace screens at my shop in Portland, and that's when I discovered them. And we had to have them. We had some women in the class that were, gosh, in their 70s, and they were not going to be able to participate in the class if we didn't find a way for them to not have to squunch over a giant fireplace screen day after day. So it was a necessary kind of invention. Okay, get up there. Let's get everybody nice and base coated. Watch for ridges when you get done. You can sand it and then give it a second coat and you'll be all good to go. Okay, next. I haven't quite got a solid coverage on this yet, so we're going to probably have to do it again. One of the helpful hints, and I see this a lot in classes that I teach, I've got my paint squirted out here, and this is the lemonade color. And my paint just kind of squirted out in a kind of a flat looking squirt there. I went back and I shook up my paint just a little bit more, and I don't know if you can see this on camera, but like look at how much higher this is than that. Okay, that is what thick paint looks like. That's how it's supposed to look when it comes out. If it's flat all the way across the top and doesn't have like an egg yolk kind of look, then you need to do a little bit more shaking. And that will give you much better coverage on your base coat. So we're going to give these, I think, a washy base of this green. I don't want these to get too heavy. Whoops. Blot when you do a wash, because then you'll get a leaking puddle of paint. Okay. Just wash that on there nice and thin. You can let some of that background kind of show through. Okay, Joe, when you edit this one, just pretend like, go ahead and put the misting part before the washing and basing part, and then I won't sound like such a knucklehead because I did this all backwards. Thank you, son. Okay, so here we go. I've got some Victorian blue in my misting bottle, and I've already done this with 2 coats of the lighter colors. Now we're going to come back and mask this. Give it a squirt over there. And I want those heavier dots in the corner. Yeah. They're just fantastic that way. I love, love, love it. Okay, now I want to get it thinner, so I'm going to add more water. Okay. The thinner it is, the better, the finer the spray. And it'll go as fine as almost like an airbrush. Ooh, and I gotta be careful though because I'm on this Lazy Susan. I want my spatters not to be running down my piece. So we will flatten that back down so they can dry nicely. Okay, we'll shake this up. The reason I've gone back in is these flowers are going to get kind of bright pink. That's my plan for them. If they get really bright pink and I don't have something supporting down here to support the weight of the brightness, then these pink things will be standing on top of this very dark thing, and it just will not probably be very attractive. So now we'll go back in with thinner. Oops, and it helps if you point. And I'll wash that off of my I'm aiming kind of off the edge. You do not want to do this around anything that you don't want to get dirty. So make sure that your table and everything is well protected. Do not squirt it at your neighbor's project. They will not be happy, I promise you. Okay, let's go a little bit wider. Now we had our butterfly stencil up there, or our screen. Let's go back up there. I'm going to wash off some of these flowers, so that's going to be kind of the same technique that you saw before. I just want to take off the big dots because those will be harder to base coat over. in. Sometimes this is quite a process. I'll show you a little trick. I've got, where's my, I moved everything so I could clean off my table and get a new tablecloth because that was bugging me. And then I'm sitting here doing a spraying project. That's kind of silly. Take your wave eraser and you dip it in water. And when you do that, shake it off. And it will clean off any paint marks that you get. I think especially some of these blobs that dried. When your paint is fresh, it will take the paint off. When your paint is dry, it will not touch the paint at all. So it's kind of this really neat thing. Add water and it does all kinds of new things. Okay, I'm going to blot. And I'm going to make another mess. Okay, I'm going to hit this with the dryer before I make another mess. Okay, so we have, looking for my stencils, my butterfly. I've got that butterfly sitting right there. I think I'm just going to lay that right back over. And we can intensify him just a little bit. I'm going to mask my flowers just by simply doing that. Okay, do my test. Got a piece of Post-it over here that I'm spraying onto so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, got this about where I wanted. Now I'm going to get just a little bit more up there in the corner. Now I've got these fantastic things we're calling Q-tips. These will pick up these little blobs out of the middle that I don't want. And they're pointy on either end. They're fantastic. All right, and I'm going to see, I'm going to want to bring this over to the other side. So I'm going to hold that down. There, that's a little bit brighter. That's kind of nice. Now I've got one over here as well. I'll wipe that off. Kind of lay that back down. Hopefully I'm not jumping. I think I might switch to the lighter blue that I had mixed that darker color in with. Okay, so now I'm going to go over here. It's going to spray on stuff, so I'm going to be prepared for that. Okay, and then I'll give it one or two little pops. Helps if you can aim, huh? And then pull this off. And that's just a little bit brighter as well. Okay, and then I think with the darker, let's give this a nice bordery frame. Let's make sure I'm squirting right. Okay. And yeah, I'm liking this dreamy, movementy, watery kind of thing. This will dry just a little bit lighter because we've got water mixed in with it. As I was sitting here playing with this, I was thinking that maybe that was too puddly. If you take your paper towel or a piece of saran wrap and just go ahead and puddle that off, then it will mute it down just a little bit. Yeah. You can get rid of anything that's just a little too bright, and that makes it just that much more balanced. I wanted this dark corner down here, right over here. I wanted this a little bit dreamier, and I think I've achieved that now. Okay, as I'm cleaning up my background, or as I'm cleaning up my poor leaves, the other thing these Q-tips do is they get right up to that edge in a fine point. Follow right along. You can use the flat of it, get up into it, chisel in. And the thing that's kind of neat is, like, I used one yesterday all day long when I was demoing it and filming and all that. They don't really lose their point very easily, and they still seem to suck up even after they don't seem like they should be able to. Like if paint is dry on there, they still seem to suck up. I mean, this is me cleaning up that thing. And I have dried, I think I might have even kept the one from yesterday. So I've got this, it's still on a tip. Let me go down over here and see if, yep. Oh, that's so cool, it wicks it. Okay, I gotta show you this on camera. I love discovering these things as I'm filming because it's way more exciting and dramatic. Okay, so get close in, you can see that I've got little wet droplets of things. That's the end that I put into a drop of water, and see how it wicked it straight in? That's the end that I used yesterday. I've got a little bit of brown, a little bit of blue. Oops. This is the end I used yesterday. I got a little brown, a little bit of blue. And here we go. We're going to go into, let's see, into here, and let's see if you can watch it. It just sucks it up. And look at, it's halfway up this little Q-tip just from me putting that dried paint end into that. How incredible. That is so cool. All right, I've traced my pattern on, and the first thing I want to do, I went ahead and used the black. I want to go ahead and erase my pattern down. Notice that when I'm erasing with this wave eraser, that I'm not smudging. Like, I'm erasing black on this light pink and I'm not smudging. That's because of the kind of eraser it is. So you want to, you know, all erasers are not made the same. So you do want to make sure, and I'm using the side edge. You can use this chisel point. It comes to a nice point. You can get right on an edge if you need to. You can push hard, you can push light just to soften like I'm doing right now. No smudge. And this is the one that takes the paint off when you paint, when it's when things are still fresh. So I just want a hint of my line. I don't want too much of my line. Okay, as we get ready to float, I want to get into a flat brush that has a finer feel to it because I want these floats to be real pretty. So I'm going to just load a regular float, blend, and I want it kind of washy. This color is really soft pink. I don't want this to be too strong. Come in there, just wet it kind of and let it walk. This is a C-stroke. I'm keeping my brush hand locked, pulling it around the corner. We can walk this back out again in a minute. I'm going to put a little bit of color on either side, making sure I stick to those lines. If I don't stick to the lines, then I'm going to have a problem with erasing the lines. When you have eraser marks, when you have pencil marks underneath your, paint, the paint seals in the pencil mark, and that makes it a problem. Okay, so we'll just float that around. I'm going to hold that thought right there and let that one dry so that then I can come down the other side. Okay, these have got to be separated right on that line. Okay, same thing here. And I think I want this one. How do I want that? I want this one this way. It's real gentle. And I'll have to wait till that dries, so I'll come back up here. Work in sections, then you don't have to worry about wiping things off. This just kind of outlines and highlights everything. Okay, now this is where I pull out, take you straight off camera. And how awkward is that for you to see? I think pretty awkward. Let's move you down flat. Okay, this board is a very unusual size. Or not unusual size, just very wide. Okay, clean that up. And my table is not leveled. You want to re-rinse when you feel like your float is getting out of control. A nice big, I kind of even just force it a little bit to make it bigger. Okay, these are going to be so pretty. Pretty. And then we'll go over the top here. Now, one of the things that we want to do is we want to make this front one more in the center of interest, or more bold looking, more bright, more obvious, all that kind of stuff. So when we're building these, we're going to work towards dulling down the back ones and putting more ha-cha-cha on the front one, because that's the one I want to stand out. Okay, and that is almost a wash. Show you a new toy that I found. I found this fantastic new mop brush. You just hold it down and then just mop in the clean area. And you can wipe it off on a paper towel that's got a damp spot and then dry it on your paper towel. It's got a good resistance to shedding its hairs, which is always fantastic. Okay, and this one gets a little bit of that. It's got something going on here. I'm going to go look at my pattern, I think. Just make that be back there somehow, huh? Alright, and then this I think needs to come and get walked out just a little bit. A bit deeper. Not too color booky. If you're getting too color booky, then you can under-wet or pre-wet with some extender. Okay, we want to carry that color out. We don't want it to be too stripy, I guess is the word maybe I'm looking for. Okay, we're going to continue our coloring. So these are going to be our soft pink tulips. And now we're going to float on the top here where these come in, just to set the tone for what comes next. I don't want to bring that too far down. Clean up my mess. I'm going to get out one of my Q-tips here. Oh yeah, it's fantastic. And these just keep it right there next to you. Okay, so we'll get that floated. And I think we'll go ahead and bring in a little bit of our white detailing as soon as I finish doing these other guys right here. See how dark I want it. We need to pull this down and separate these puppies. And do I really want him to? Yeah, I guess I do. All about finger painting, right? Look at my fingers are a disaster. I think we're going to go one deeper with this shading and go into the really strong dark pink as well. I'll just see about that. That may be a little bit scary feeling. The reason I'm doing the flowers first is the flowers are the absolute, you know, they're what we're going to be looking at. I'm not going to know what to do with my leaves until I know what to do with my flowers. I would never want to match, in my particular case, I would not want to match my flowers to my leaves. Instead, I want to make my leaves support whatever it is I've done to my flowers. Okay, so I think we're going to try this new brush. This is a comb brush, and we can kind of open it up and see how it's all kind of jiggity-jaggedy there. Let's move this out of the way. And move this in the way. Okay, so you can see my big mess here. Not too wet, but I'm going to take this and I'm going to open it up. I just tipped it in there. I'm going to open it up. I'm pushing all the way down on my ferrule, and I'm making it like open, and it will have like a little bit of a cup. Whoops, a little bit of a cup situation. And a little bit of water will make things flow. But too much water will make things flow too much. I'm going to set it right down at the tip, and I'm going to pull that in ever so gently. Shape following strokes. This is super duper duper important. If you do not use shape following strokes, then it will not be pretty. If they're straight and the flower is curved, then it won't be pretty. Pull it straight in, and it'll kind of fade out for you. It's doing its job just nicely. and not too curly. Okay, I'll come down here in front, putting it down right there on the front. And the reason I'm not getting just then, I didn't get a very good scratchy mark line thing, is because I didn't have enough water in my brush. So, but do I mind that it's variable? No, not at all. I kind of like that, because I have never seen tulips in nature that have been like all exactly the same. Usually they're quite remarkable. I've taken more pictures of the ones that are weird looking than I have anything else. Okay, so I'm liking that. So we'll go in, and I was going to make that a little wider. Whoopsie. I guess I didn't do that part. Alright, so I'm going to go up here. Give this guy just a little bit. Remember, we want drama in the front and no drama in the back. Now see, we're losing some of the definition of this, but that's okay because we're going to put it back in with a little bit more dark. Now we'll go into the Napa Red. Got a little plop of that, not too much. Same brush, a little bit of water. This is very transparent, but it's also very strong. Let's separate that out nicely. And okay, just increasing the intensity in front. You can flip your brush around if it seems like it's getting a little toe. Mine's doing just a little bit of a toe dance. I'm going to flip mine over right now. Wear it out nice and evenly. Get on top of it so you can see what you're doing. That variegation is just beautiful, isn't it? Now with this color, we're going to go just a little bit in the back. Okay, just leaving that separation. Maybe we can give it a little bit up there. Okay, this one. Okay, I'm liking that. Okay, we're going to sneak in a little bit of white down at the base in the same combo brush. It's called a combo because it has two kinds of filaments to it, fibers. And if my table was straight and my project was square, I would do this so that you could watch me go round and round, but I can't, so I'm going to fiddly-winkle. It's a new word. Okay. Just give that just a little bit of comb up to give it that brightness of the base. Okay. I'm liking that. I think we're going to take our smaller flat that I can get a little bit more real precise strong edge into our Napa Red with a tiny microscopic float. Okay, and then that is going to go, let's get you close in, up here, and we're going to kind of ruffle the edges just a little bit. Okay. To give it that little bit of a more natural, I am not a drawn flower look. Okay, and that really pops the front of that, doesn't it? Now I want to say in my mind that these have flipped over backwards a little bit, so these are going to get smooth treatment because those are going over the back edge. Not too dark back there though. Okay. And we'll get these guys, the same kind of thing in the front. We don't want to pop this too much, so I'm thinking just a little hair of stuff. Okay, just a little bit. It's just barely doing things. Okay, I'm going to take my yellow, and I was going to start with, we'll start with where I thought I was going to start. We're going to start with taffy cream. Put out a little taffy cream. And then I'm going to float in that neck. And I want to float kind of big for the neck, or the throat, not the neck. Okay, and we're going to get that, whoopsie, stay off your red. Somebody wasn't so klutzy. And go right around the edges of that. Bring that up. I'm not certain I need this yellow. I'm thinking I might just need this other yellow. So we'll go into next the primary yellow, which is going to be very bright, so you want to be very careful of it. I think I'm going to need to, let's do some kissing. Not that kind of kissing, but let's do this kind of kissing, where we go a little bit of yellow down the side, a bit here and there. And I think we're going to need that brighter yellow. Okay, so on the kissing note, you don't want to do too much of this, like before you're finished. You want to do a lot of finishing steps at the end. But I'm kind of excited to try this yellow. Just chasing the dog. I think I need to start exercising. Okay. There we go. Yeah, that's kind of pretty, huh? Give it a little bit of a nudge. We want to lead the eye. Like I wouldn't want, let's talk about the theory behind this stuff, right? All right, I wouldn't want to highlight way up here and then way over here, because that's like the outside. It'd be bringing my eye over here. So I want to highlight next to where I think I want my eye to go, one thing leading to the other, kind of. And so I would highlight and do some stuff like this in the areas where I thought it would bring or bounce things around a little bit. Probably I'll want to go over here. Oopsie. Time to clean my palette. Let's talk about that for just a second. Just wiped right through. Okay, so here's our wipe off palette. Okay. I've got my paintbrushes in there so they're not rolling around. I've got my paper towel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the dirty side of my wet paper towel, and watch how easy this is. Stuff just comes right on off. Okay, if it was peelable, like if it was thick enough, it would peel off. But because it's not peelable, I'm just going to take my moistened paper towel, just wipe it off, and now I have clean space again. If you wanted to have, you know, if it was a little bit easier, I don't actually have hot water up here in my studio. I have to get a new hot water tank. Somebody stole it when we bought the building. But anyway, hot water or warm water would probably do it easier, but that wasn't hard, so it was just a matter of sitting there and doing it. Okay, I'll go back into here. And now maybe I can get a clean float out of that. If you wash right through another color that you previously had used, then what's happening is it's just lifting off the paint. That's how good it works, is it lifts the paint off. Okay, now I know that I'm going to have some other kisses of this here and there, but I'm thinking I'm liking that. Okay. I think it might almost be time to leave these. How simple were those tulips to do? That's just not even hard work at all. Alright, the next thing I need to do is establish the areas of my leaves. We're going to go into Hauser Medium Green with my Workhorse flat brush, and I'm going to get these stems shaded. This would be much easier if I could use my Lazy Susan. However, then you would not be able to see what I was doing. I'll shade down each side. And now we have a lovely stem. It's funny how color and everything just, I don't know, just changes, you know what I mean? It just makes everything okay. In this particular case, I'm moving this stem, so I'm going to erase the stem lines, because see how this stem, the way I have it drawn, goes in right here. The middle of my flower is here. I do not want my stem to go off center on my flower, or it's going to look like somebody made a big mistake. I could wait till it was dry, but why make things easier? Okay, and then we'll come down here. And one of the mistakes I've made often in my past is I've made the stems too light for a tulip. Tulips have pretty healthy sized stems. I'm doing a really controlled float, and this means that it's a very thin amount of paint. Using the chisel of my brush to draw that down. I think it's time to sketch on my lines. Okay, we'll go into our bigger brush, our bigger flat brush. And we use Stillhauser green. We're just establishing the lines and where things cross and stuff. This can be wider because I'm in a bigger area. So, bring this out. Use my Q-tip to clean up. I'm really liking that these take more than one use. Okay, I'm going to go in front of this, and I'm going to need to get rid of my stem lines here. I made a mistake. I'll go into my base, wash it down just a little bit, and erase. Paint is your best eraser friend. 2 coats of that, and I will have that line erased, and now that leaf is in front. Sometimes just trying to make out what is going on there can be an interesting exercise. One of the things I want to mention, this board, which I love, this house sign, this board is reversible. When you get done with this side of your board, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put a piece of press and seal. Like after it's varnished, after it's sealed, after everything is wonderful, seal the whole front side of it with a thing of press and seal, because all you need to do is swing this around and bring that back side through your finished painted backside through a pile of paint or something. Not a very happy thing. So if you finish it up, let it dry and cure, and then put your press and seal on it, then you won't get that that horrible problem. Okay, now I'm making that wider. I'm going to go up here. Gotta get this shaded around this so that it's sitting behind. Don't want to mess up my tulip though, so I do want to be careful about that. I'm just going to kind of glaze that down. Let's just glaze that whole leaf down with the Hauser medium. Glaze means just put a wash over it. It's just a fancy term for wash. I want to do the same thing in some of these other back ones. Let's get the bends fixed. Okay, here we go. This one's bent over. Whoops. Kind of strong. Maybe it's time for super mop, huh? Mop in the clean area. You stay out of that dark area. You want to leave that unless it's just to tap it and clean it up a little bit. Okay. We need to show that things are flopping over and things. I think let's give this one back here, keep it on camera. This one right here a washy kind of leaf too. And maybe we can mop him just to even it out. Wipe on a wet paper towel and then dry it off on a dry paper towel, trying not to get it too wet. And that'll keep your mop nice and clean. Okay. Bring this up. I'm going to have to rearrange so that I can get a good angle here. Let's get this kind of tinted over here. Let's bring it around over here. This is where colors are going to start getting heavier. And I've got things kind of established. And do that one more time. Leave it alone. Once you get it on there, if it starts lifting and it starts becoming a problem, just get out of there. Okay, use that mop to clean up the soft spots, the part where you want them to blend nicely. Okay, let's see where we're at now. Gonna get over here with the dark green. Gonna wash it at the base and then just float it out at the top. I don't know why we need to rename this wash floating or something. See, now we're matching these leaves to what's going on in the flowers and the background. See, so by having those flowers done and the background done, that gives me a place to aim at. I go right near my flower. I want to be careful about staying off of that because it'll get dirty looking. Sometimes I'm not so worried about that, but in this case, I want to be careful. My fingers are now at the dirtiest they've been all day long, so I'm not going to be much use using my fingers. Now, what we want to do as we get back to this background, okay, got the background, we want this color to start matching this background just a little bit. We want it to disappear as it goes back, okay, so it either needs to get lighter or get darker, whatever it is that the background's doing. We need this to do the same thing. So that way this can stay in the center of interest. Okay, so up here I'm not going to do so much shading because then it won't be like the background, see? Now I would want to do some shading, but just not so much shading. Now over here, it's darker in the background, so we wouldn't want those leaves to be like flaming, screaming green. We want them to be more dark. So in this case, we're going to neutralize them and bring them up. We could also mix some of our blue background color into them. Okay, and then of course it's going to be dark and deep in the middles. And we of course want to be able to see different levels of our leaves. Let's see, this is going to be this coming in front right here. And let's do that with a really steady hand instead of the shaky hand. Okay. This is dark because it's back behind everybody. We don't want that one to get too dark. Okay. Decisions, right? And really, ultimately, how you decide to do these flowers is going to be absolutely fine. If you want the leaves to pop and the flowers not to, then you have fun with it and go for it. Because nobody is going to be like the petal police and pull you over. Liking this a lot. Now we'll get out our brighter green and see if we're going to need lighter green. I'm not sure that we are. Okay, now this is going to be our little popper color. This has got a lot of yellow in it. Okay, it's almost like doing that glaze of that yellow. If you don't have the yellow, you could probably do that. And I think that's our center of interest flower, so we'll put a tint of it there. This is olive green. Right up the middle of that. Okay, now I don't want that to get away from me. It's kind of getting a little bit away. We're out of our center of interest. Okay. I think we'll back those down just a touch. Just a touch. So that's one of those things where a little is good and a lot is bad. So we don't want to go out of control. I think we're going to need a darker green though. Okay, to make my dark green, I'm going to take Hauser Dark Green and some of our Victorian Green. I'm going to mix them together 1-to-1. Because the Hauser Dark is a little bit screaming at me. And the blue is, of course, not quite right. So I'll just mix me a little pile of that. And then I can float using that darker kind of neutralized green. And that can be our shadowy kind of color area. And see how that just pops that stem forward. Okay, we'll go. Gotta be careful if it's too dark, it's not going to be very attractive. So I'm going to be real careful. I'm going to get these bases. They're out of that center of interest. Down there at the bottom of things. Let's wash up some of that blue-green color. Get that pink off of there. And I think my hands are shedding. I think they're cracking. I've got dried pink paint all over my hand. Hey, maybe I'm a peel-off palette too, huh? Washing it up, take off the flower. Okay. This is where I get quiet, you know, I'm thinking painting with your tongue sticking out. It's just giving us a little bit more interest. I think we need this other one to be a little bit deeper, darker. Play with your greens, and don't just have rules. You know what I'm saying? Just go ahead and do whatever you are required from what's happening on your piece. Don't be a slave to the rules. Make it work. Okay, we'll come up here and we will get that bend a little bit more bend. Stay off of your other areas. I'm going to switch to my finer control brush. This is where I'm going to go ahead and make everything a little bit like the bends be a little bit bendier, like with a real nice strong chisel-y dark float. Okay, just a little bit more interest, a little bit more line. I lost this poor thing altogether. Okay, flip it around. My Lazy Susan could work. I use it. Okay, I got a little bend in my flower stem. So I'll just kind of unbend it. Now remember, less interest back here. So we can deepen it, but we don't want to make it the darkest one. Now where these things cross, we want to give them the shading there too. We're going to do a little brush dry brushing. We're going to do a little liner brush dry brushing. So I'm going to use a round actually, not a liner, and I'm going to go into, I think, the taffy. And I'm just going to squinch my brush into it and get it real dry. I'm going to bring that up the middle of my stems to make that be like it's defined in a highlight kind of way. And if you do it dry brush, then you can just leave these little scratchy streaks in there, right up the middle, and it just gives it a little dimension like it was shaded. See how they're popping out just a little bit more. Okay, now we're going to go into our blue-green mix, and we're going to make a wash and then blot it on the paper towel. And we're going to wash that up this thing here and wipe it off of. Oops, stay off of your flowers. Okay, I just want to make that be a little bit darker and disappearing inside there. Same thing up here. Because they're in the background. Let's bring that up on a chisel right behind the flower. A little bit more dark. Do the same with this one back here. Yeah, that's looking a little bit more right somehow. Okay, this is where we're going to get back out. One more wash right here on this. This shouldn't have that bright highlight right there, I don't think. It should rest, and it's not resting. I don't like that it's not resting. Okay, so draw that down nice and smooth. There we go. That's resting. Okay. Now what we've done by darkening those leaves and things like that in there, we've lost some of our definition, so we'll have to go back in and deepen our shading in those areas so that we can find ourselves again. But now what we're going to do is we're going to take out our combo brush and we are going to go into, I think into Taffy Cream. We're going to open it up just like we did before. And on these highlight areas, we're going to streak a couple of streaks down. Whoops, go out of control here. Down the middle. Just a couple of little streakies. Don't make it so much like the other stuff, the flowers. But these are not really smooth and, you know, same color kind of little things. They've got that variegation to them. And now I think I'm going to go into just the hauser. I'm a little bit nervous about this. This could be like a really strong color with the combo brush. I'm going to open its teeth up, really splay it out. And now I'm going to go here. I'm going to streak from the bottom. Oh, that looks nice. Don't make the mistake, like I'm splaying mine out and then I just hit it on the palette to kind of close it back up. That's me being a little bit nervous about what I'm doing. Don't do that, because then you'll close all those hairs up. I'm going to draw that one up. Let it be just a little bit scratchy. And splay you out again. I don't want it closed. Okay, like that. Down from here. Down from here. Oops, that line doesn't meet those lines. Yeah, I'm liking that variegation a lot. We'll do some up here too. I think we have a little bit everywhere, huh? As I get ready to make my marks over here, one of the ways to make a really good mark is to use your T-square, because it will automatically be nice and straight. Okay, then we're going to take our tape, which is sitting around here someplace. In this case, we can use just masking tape. If I was taping a curve, then obviously I'd want to use something different. So I'm just going to take this, tape it down, and you want to make sure that you squinch it down with your finger really strong, maybe even your fingernail. Don't do both sides, because we're not going to paint over here. We just want to make sure that the paint doesn't bleed under where it's taped down, so we want it nice and strongly applied. And sometimes tape bends in the middle, so get the middle going and then do the other end, and that prevents that kind of arch. I don't know why it does that, but it seems to do that pretty much all the time. Then we're going to take rectangular makeup applicator. We're going to tap it on our palette to flatten it in there. These don't absorb like a cello sponge makes, like absorbs water and stuff. These don't. They're very dense. And we're just going to tap that over this. This is the best way not to have bleeding underneath your stenciled line that I've ever seen. If you ever had something like stained wood that you knew you couldn't repair or patch or rebase coat, when you're taping, then you can put on a first coat of either of like a clear varnish, and in this case I could have used a first coat of this baby blue if I didn't want to ever have to worry about it bleeding under, and then the baby blue would have bled under in case, you know, if it would have, and then we would have been able to have the edges of the tape all sealed. Okay, and then we can go back over with the second coat almost immediately. By tapping up and down, this is what I use to base on glassware. By tapping up and down, it just covers really well. And then we immediately take our tape off, if we can peel it off. Lovely. And I usually just tape my tape to the, okay, so now I'm thinking that that's a screaming pink line, so I think we're going to have to mute that down. We'll have to see what I do with that. What to do? I'm going to use my polka dot stencil to polka dot my pink band. Make sure spots are straight. Make them a little bit leany. Okay, I'm going to use my Crescent stencil brush. And I've got a little stencil adhesive on here. Something in the middle there. Anyway, just normal stencil stuff. Decide if you want them light or dark, and just do them twice if you want them stronger colored. I'm going to lift this stencil and peek. Okay, I think probably one coat for me. Well, that'll depend on your pressure and all that kind of stuff. Okay, peel that off, and then get our spacing aligned. I think that's too far. Okay. Okay, I'm going to use my Mist-Its, and I'm going to spatter over here with some green color. But we all know that that can be a mess. So I'm using a piece of acetate to mask this because I don't want to make a bloody mess out of it. Yep. Okay, I guess I can just move this. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now I'm going to mix up. Now you could use this another way. Let's talk about that. Now I like the spattered look. We've had people up here looking at this as it's been being built and mastered. And we have anti-spatter people and we have spatter people. Well, I am a spatter people. Okay, so I just want to check this placement. Okay. So if you didn't want to spatter it, what you could do is use one of these big Mondo stenciling brushes. And you could get out some, maybe Hauser. Find my Hauser, where's I think I just had it, there it is. And you could just stencil on top of this, so you'd want to hold it down. And you could stencil that corner. So the look will look like so. Oops, it would help if you could see. And they work the same when you stencil them as stencils do. Okay, so that's kind of the look right there. But I think what I want to do, I want mine sprayed. So I'm going to mix up some spray. Okay, I want to spray over here, so I've masked this, and I'm going to make sure I don't have things in my spray path. You know, if you have just a piece of paper to slip under there that you put away and stuff like that. If you preload water in these little puppies, then you can just dump out enough. If you want it real thin and misty, then you can do it thin and misty, etc., etc. I think this one, I'm going to use the Hauser. And what I've been discovering is if I shake it before I put the little tubey thing in, then I think it mixes better and it doesn't clog up my tubey thing. And then what I've also discovered is that warm water just cleans these up like a snap. Okay, so I'm going to test on my paper. Make sure my holes are pointed in the right way. See what kind of... Okay, so nice fine light pattern. I want it to be subtle at first. Okay, and then we'll go in with our little Q-tips and maybe clean out of some areas. I'm not too sure I'm worried about these ones so much. Okay, I'm going to hit the blow dryer with this. Maybe hit one or two more spots there. Okay, put my lid on, hit the dryer. Okay, now I'm going to increase the amount of green that's in there. See how nice and pretty and soft that is. It is just so elegant. I love it. I love a loose background, and so I'm going to put about twice the amount. Now this ought to go out much chunkier when I spatter. So we want to make sure that, that we want it chunky. Like the more paint you put in, the more spattery. If you want something, say, that's going to be real misty and fine, this thing will do it so fine, then go with a slightly darker color and use way more water, because the water will dilute the amount of color you get. Okay, so I've got my stencil over here. Right off so that I don't make a mess. Okay, just plop that back on top. We'll test this over here. A little bit more up here. Whoops, the hole's going in the right direction. Okay, maybe. There we go. Now I want to pick up some of my dots. Go in and just clean up some of these big ones. Okay. And then if you don't like any puddling, like I got just a little bit of puddling going on there, if you don't like that, then get a piece of paper towel and just sponge on that. Clean that up. Okay, perfect. Alright, now I'm going to go one more time. I'm going to put one more drop of paint in here, and I'm going to use the Hauser Dark Green. And just a little bit of that, not a ton, just a drop. Put my mixer in and shake it up. Now that should get me pretty darn dark. And I want to put that just in those corner areas. Okay, and we'll pick up the big heavy drops. Okay, I think yeah, maybe we'll leave it like that.